We are back with a new and improved, additional, new and improved. I just said that. Do's and don'ts with donut.
Wait, is it new or no?
It's a new one.
Okay.
It's a new one of yes.
Just wanted to make sure.
New. Something different. We just got done talking with the Dope Yoda.
Yep.
Brought him back, updated us. And before we go, I failed to mention in the news update that you had a birthday.
I did.
Like 21?
26.
Oh, my God. Yep. So birthday, 26. And then Madison had a birthday as well.
On the same day. What are the odds?
I don't know what the odds would be, but we had a fun lunch.
Yeah, we did.
We do birthdays right around here. So, new do's and don'ts with Donut.
Hopefully something that you're familiar with.
Uh-oh.
Can't read behind this.
I'm going to have to. This is a long one.
It is.
Okay.
We'll see if I can get through this.
We got this.
Okay. Title, got pulled over, blew 0.00, charged with DWI, and gave blood test. Blood test came back negative.
We call this a lawsuit.
Yeah.
Yeah. Okay.
Hey everyone, here's the story. I'm going to try to make it as short as possible. Left my parents' house after early dinner and was driving back to my place. Had 0 drinks at dinner and got pulled over around 6 p.m. The officer said I was swerving, but I told him I was just looking at my stereo. Tells me I have an odor of booze coming off of me and if I would submit to field sobriety test. I did the test and he told me I could blow into his breathalyzer. I did. He went to his car and came back and told me I was under arrest. In shock, I asked what I blew, and he said 0.00 and told me I was high and that my car now smelled of marijuana. He asked me where the marijuana was, and I told him I don't smoke. Never liked smoking as it's always made my anxiety worse. He searches the car, and nothing's found. I was taken to the police station to get a blood test and was booked into jail for 16 hours because they said I was not allowed to leave right away because I was high and had to come down off of it. The whole time, every police officer was asking what drugs I was on, and I kept telling them nothing. Finally get released the next day, and of course, my family thinks I'm high now. They said police just don't arrest you for nothing, and I told them I did absolutely nothing, and how could I have done anything since I had just left their house? Flash forward to last Wednesday when I finally got my results back. Negative results on all 12 tests. Now that I proved my point to my family that I did nothing, I'm still really pissed off about this, and even though everything was dropped, it still makes me mad. I'm just thinking about how a police officer can get away with taking someone to jail for nothing. I was thinking to myself, if my friends had smoked weed a week earlier and the same thing had happened, they would still be charged with a DUI. Being 25 and knowing a lot of kids my age smoke weed, I was just wondering if this officer assumed I had cannabis in my system and was trying to get some quota or just thought he could get me on some kind of drug charge to prosecute me. Is there anything you would recommend to me, or should I just forget about this altogether? That one's fully loaded.
That's loaded to the T.
Yeah.
So, welcome to the real world, kid. Like, this stuff happens. And
a lot.
People don't want to believe it happens. You know, law enforcement never lies. Law enforcement never claims to observe things that don't exist. We know for a fact it happens.
It does happen.
And soon, I hope we're going to have an episode specifically focused on police misconduct.
Okay.
Because that's exactly what that is.
Yeah.
Like, that's gross.
Yes.
But it happens all the time.
It does.
Where do you want to start with this?
I broke it down a little bit to make this
all
easier.
Right. Thank you.
Because it was a fully loaded one, and we got like 8 things we could touch on in that, I think.
Okay.
Okay, so first one, he was stopped for swerving, and he immediately tells the officer that he might have been just looking at his radio.
At least it wasn't on his phone.
True.
Yep.
My first thought was, you don't need to justify anything.
Nope.
When they tell you why you were pulled over, or if they ask you why you think they're pulling you over, a lot of times They're just trying to get some sort of statement from you
100%.
to acknowledge that you were doing something wrong.
Correct.
But depending on what type of swerving in Iowa, that could lead to reasonable suspicion.
It could. Do ask for the damn video. Like,
Yeah.
I don't care if everything's dismissed. At that point in time, you send a request. What he needs to do, she needs to do, is send a request. You want every video. You want the in-car. You want the body-worn cameras. You want everything from the station.
The reports.
You want the reports because, man, if they're saying they smell weed coming from the car, and clearly that didn't exist.
Yep.
They claim to smell alcohol. That didn't exist. What are the odds that weaving actually existed?
Exactly.
So, okay.
And
yeah.
he says he might have been looking at his radio, but that's not an admission that you were actually doing it.
No.
Second, officer says the driver smells like booze. Driver tells him he had 0 drinks, so he agrees to do, or driver tells us he had 0 drinks, so he agrees to do field sobriety tests, and then agrees to do a breathalyzer test. Cop goes to the patrol car, comes back, and tell him he's under arrest.
I'm assuming he did field.
Yes.
He or she did fields.
He did do fields.
This is exactly why we tell people there is 0 reason to do field sobriety tests. The
Yes.
eyeball test, the walk and turn test, the one leg stand, the lean your head back with your eyes closed, touching your nose. There is absolutely no reason to do them. For most people, we can't do those on a good day, let alone with the stress and the anxiety of a traffic stop situation, whether there's booze in our system, anything in our system or not. What happens is when you do these exercises, law enforcement will use your performance on them, even if you blow zeros, to accuse you of being impaired by something other than alcohol. That's exactly what happened here.
Yep.
This is exactly what we caution people about every time we give talks, whether it's at a school, a business, or otherwise. We say, there is no reason to do them. You're not going to do yourself any favors at all.
Yeah, because in a lot of times, which I think is kind of funny, it's not funny.
It is.
But people say, I couldn't do that if I was sober.
No.
Like, that's not going to be interpreted in your favor. Even though if you are sober and you say that,
So
it doesn't seem incriminating, but you're literally saying, even if I wasn't drunk right now, I wouldn't be able to do this.
Rabbit trail. We do presentations at businesses. We do presentations at schools, high school kids. Every time I do one of these presentations, I put kids through field sobriety tests, high schoolers, not drinking in the middle of the day, hopefully, and they don't pass.
Yeah, you can fail them every time.
They don't pass.
Yeah.
I mean, I don't even have to be picky.
Yeah.
They suck at dividing their attention and doing these. They're not gonna. You're not gonna do them on a good day. Don't do them, because all you're gonna do is give some BS justification. Hopefully, when this person sues the officer is gonna say, "Well, according to my training, if people can't do these field sobriety tests to standard, they're impaired by something, right? No alcohol. Okay, lose that. Well, it's got to be a drug of some sort." And what they're going to say later in the lawsuit is, well, maybe it was a drug that we just couldn't test for. There's
Classic.
always going to be an excuse.
Yeah.
So, yeah.
And
Okay.
breathalyzer, I've heard you give this advice multiple times. Always ask, if you agree to do breathalyzer because you haven't been drinking, ask the officer to see the results.
You want to see the results.
And that's your contingency for doing the breathalyzer
In
test.
Iowa, they don't have to show you the results. They don't have to tell you what it is. So you get them to agree ahead of time. It's only reasonable.
Yeah.
You're going to test me. I want to know how I do.
Yeah.
Show me the results.
Yeah.
And if they don't want to show you the results, then I'm not going to trust you to do a test.
Yep.
It's that simple.
The other thing I thought about Iowa being arrested, as soon as he tells you you're under arrest, that triggers your right to call or consult an attorney at a reasonable opportunity. They have to give you, ask for it. If they don't give it to you, it's just another thing to protect yourself.
Do ask. Don't argue if they say no, because
Yeah.
they gave you a hall pass.
Do ask, and do not throw a fit if they don't.
Nope.
Just let them
Be
forget.
happy.
Yeah. Okay, third. Cop comes back, tells him he blows zeros, and now claims that the car smells like marijuana and he's high.
Classic.
Happens, and you can be arrested for operating under the influence of marijuana.
Yeah, and proof. And so here's their. Well, I smelled it.
That's, yeah. Body
Bullshit.
camera's great.
The body
For
cam.
everything other than Smells.
Correct. The body camera does not disprove smells.
No.
You can't disprove the nostril. And so he's going to say, well, I reasonably believe that I detected the odor of marijuana. That's always going to be a fallback for these officers. But the fact, when you look at the, like they say, totality of the circumstances, the officer doesn't bring it up till later.
Yeah, until after he blows zeros.
It's called make believe.
Yeah.
This is backfilling, and but it happens all the damn time, and they're trying to justify getting that next test because that at this point in time, that officer is hoping to God that P test comes back with something.
Or the search of the car.
Correct.
Because that's what number 4 is. He asks where the marijuana is, searches the car, and doesn't find anything. So he's using the smell of marijuana to get into that car.
Because technically, I think there's an argument that the smell of marijuana coming from a car is probable cause to search the car.
Yeah.
Car is mobile. We have the vehicle exception.
Yep.
So he's claiming, there's making a claim, and then boom, disproved. Now, what they'll say is just because it's not there doesn't mean the odor didn't exist.
Yep,
right?
could have
There's
smoked it
always
before.
a fallback.
Yeah.
Always a fallback.
Gotten rid of it. Then he's taken to the station to have his blood drawn. Mm-hmm. How do they draw your blood?
With a needle.
Thank you. Dr. Bobby.
I'm here for y'all. I got this. Usually they make a written request, or a search warrant application gets made and gets granted, and then they have in Iowa, medical examiners show up and stick you with a needle.
And he didn't say, or he or she didn't say how this happened, but I would only assume that this person consented to it because they seem pretty steadfast in the fact that they're doing absolutely nothing wrong and want to go home.
And if you have
as soon as possible.
And if there's no risk of anything being found in your system, absolutely the way this person played this is absolutely the way you want to do it.
Yeah.
Because now you are going to have scientific proof that you didn't do a damn thing wrong.
Yeah.
And more importantly, scientific proof that what the officer is claiming is patently false.
Yeah.
So this is set up perfectly. If this was in Iowa within the last 2 years, call me, call us, right?
Yeah.
I mean, this is the formula for a lawsuit for this officer to get his or her butt sued, and for things to go in that file. So the next case that officer has, heard about the Giglio list?
Yep.
Right? That's the liar list, as it's called. Put that person on the liar list.
Yeah.
Because that's what's happening.
Because they'll do it to someone else, and someone else will be able to stop it.
You don't. It's like you never trust a thief because a thief never changes.
Yep.
You never trust a line officer because line officers don't change.
Fair. Lastly, booked into jail, and they made him spend 16 hours in jail.
Yep. We call that compensatory damages.
Yeah, we call that damages.
Yeah. And a lot of places will have that impairment. If impairment's suspected or part of one of the allegations, they make them sit overnight and see a judge.
16 hours is a long time.
That's a really long time, and that would be miserable.
I was thinking about that. Like, you get arrested at 6, probably all this happens. You're booked at 8, and then you're in there till noon.
Yeah, that's a long time.
That's damages. You're missing work.
You're missing work. Listen, photo goes up on the website.
Yep. Facebook.
Yeah, everybody shares it. Everybody's mocking you. Your family now thinks you're a stoner.
Are you in trouble because you missed work? Are you in trouble because you showed up late?
Yeah.
Are you in trouble because you got arrested?
You're losing your job over all this.
You have an arrest record.
Unfortunately, these things happen. So if we're saying do's and don'ts, do appreciate the fact that police misconduct occurs.
Yeah.
Innocent people do get arrested, do get accused, and even do get charged and prosecuted for offenses.
Mm-hmm. Innocent people go to trial.
Yeah.
All the way.
Innocent people go to prison.
Sometimes don't get their charges dropped.
Correct.
Yeah.
Sometimes innocent people go to prison. And so we want to and we need to believe that this is an exception to the rule. I'd say by and far probably is. But it does happen, and you do need to know and exercise your rights, whether it's in this moment or after the fact. Mm-hmm. And don't let these things go.
Yeah.
So many people in these circumstances, when they finally get through with it, they're like, well, is it really worth it?
Do I just forget about it? Like he asked, yeah.
Yes. And because it's easier to move on and not bring it up. If you don't do something about this, it's going to happen to somebody else. It's going to happen to multiple other people. So do something about it.
Yeah.
Do not forget about it and move on, because you're doing a disservice to the community. You're doing a disservice to the department.
Yep.
And everybody else that wears a badge that does things right.
Yep.
So that's a loaded one.
It is.
Like, we could have done a whole episode, and I think we've teed up now. We have now, from this episode, we're going to have about 3 spinoffs between drug stuff and now police misconduct stuff, which we haven't touched yet this year. And there's a few that
we have brewing in the
we
background.
have brewing in the background that once we're able to talk about them, they are going to be, I think, classic examples of things that need to change and improvements that we can make. So, summarizing this all up in do's and don'ts, what you got?
Do hire an attorney and see what you can do with your case, because you probably have a claim.
Yes.
At least here in Iowa. And the other thing was, get that expunged from your arrest record once you can.
Get that expunged, and don't just forget about it.
No.
Fair. That's a good one, Sydney.
Yep.
I appreciate it. Happy birthday to you.
Thank you.
And rock on.
Cheers.
See you next time.
We can't change the past, but we will change your future. GRL Law. Thanks for tuning in to GRL Raw. Check us out at grllaw.com.